So, in case you were not aware, the cuckoo clock was not part of the introduction to this video, but I think it actually came on at the right time. It's now 8:02, not 8 o'clock, which is the cuckoo clock is supposed to do that. Anyway, welcome to another Riddler review. I am your host, Edward Nigma, and I'm here to tell you about 13 Reasons Why, and 13 Reasons Why you should not watch Season 2. So, the brilliance of the book, 13 Reasons Why, is about a girl who kills herself and then comes up with 13 tapes as to why. Now, in the book, she kills herself with pills, which I'm sorry is the weakest way to kill yourself. In the show, she opens up her wrists, which is quite graphic, but I mean, there are no good ways to kill yourself. I'm not trying to say that there is, but if we're looking at this as a fictional point of view rather than a psychologist's point of view, or a psychiatrist's point of view, or a therapist's point of view, or even a student, or a troubled youth, or a troubled person, if we're just talking about this as like a fictional standpoint, to kill yourself with pills is probably the weakest suicide ever. Now, I'm not going to get into more of this because this is not the point of the video. The point is to critique 13 Reasons Why, not to critique suicide. And I feel like I'm giving you all these disclaimers because of what the show has become. But let's get right into it. In the book, Hannah Baker kills herself by drugging herself out and dying. And she has 13 tapes as to why she killed herself. And each tape describes a reason. And there are 13 reasons. In the book, Clay is on tape 9. In the show, I forget what tape Clay is on, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the book is about a girl who kills herself, has 13 reasons why she did it, and apparently what Clay Jensen did is the biggest reason as to why she killed herself, which isn't true completely because Clay's reason in the book is because, or Hannah's reason, and Clay is, I'm pretty sure, reason number 9 in the book. Her reason is because, you know, he was like her last chance at a normal life, at a promising future. And because he left at the party, she just went downhill. But it's not really Clay's fault because she told him to leave and Clay did leave because he's a scared little boy, which honestly, I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, this is kind of personal, but in the second season, you know, Clay is like asking, like, is it okay, like, if we have sex, or like, am I doing it right or something? Like, that probably would be me. I don't know why I do this, but I compare myself to a lot of different characters in different stories that I read and watch or digest. And Clay Jensen reminds me a lot of me. Now, when I was in high school, I didn't have a shitty time. I didn't really know anybody who, well, I knew one girl who wanted to kill herself, and I stopped it from happening. And she was angry at me, but like, she was basically taunting the idea of suicide, and I was able to talk her down from it. And even Jay Asher, who wrote the book, talks about how he did have a friend who wanted to commit suicide and then stopped her. But anyway, that's not really the point of this video. The point is the review, and the review of everything, the book and the show. So the book is very well done. I liked it. Some people were very iffy about it, even though it did win an award or got an award, or I don't know. Anyway, so the book ends with Clay chasing after Sky because he thinks Sky is going to be next. Like, as if this school is built with a bunch of people that want to kill themselves. That is, you know, possible. there are certainly people who are very down on themselves and want to kill themselves. But I think what you need to get out of the book is the fact that A, it's a story, B, it's cleverly concocted. I mean, every writer, even me, wants to write a book that is completely different than anything else on the bookshelves. And that book is very different than what's on the bookshelves because we don't just have a story in the linear fashion. We have a story, but most of the story is made up of tapes. So really it's Clay's point of view and then Hannah's point of view. It's almost like a script in a way, but it's well done. The reasons are well done. It's not as graphic as the show, I find, but it's well done. The show, the first season of 13 Reasons Why, was well done. They followed the tapes. They did basically what the book accomplished. And then they added a 14th tape, which I thought was clever. Which is, so basically they try to convict Bryce Walker, who is the subjected rapist in the show. And in the book. But he doesn't rape, or he doesn't have as many victims as in the show. So 13 Reasons Why, the first season, ends well. Well, no. It does end well, but the ending is kind of strange because it's just so different from the book. And then the second season, we discover that Clay is dating Skye. She doesn't end up staying with Clay, which is, fine. In the book, it's not exactly hinted that Clay and Skye are going to be dating. It's just that Clay's going to try to save Skye where he couldn't save Hannah. But they end up dating, and then they end up separating. Skye gets taken to the hospital because she's trying to cut herself again because she's a cutter, as people would say, I guess. And in the end, it turns out she has bipolar, which according to my therapist is wrong. She wouldn't have bipolar. I don't think it's called multiple personality disorder. It might have been multiple personality disorder. It's not schizophrenia. But that's what she would have because it's like something's taunting her to cut herself. Anyway, he said that basically, according to the show, which is weird because apparently the show had medical examiners on. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, she wouldn't have bipolar. She'd have, I think, multiple personality disorder. And so they got that wrong. I have bipolar. I don't cut myself. Not that that's important. But bipolar 1, ironically, there are 2. Well, the second one just means you're not manic. Anyway, again, this isn't really what I was trying to do with this review. Anyway, so we got season 1, which was well done. The ending was a bit... I didn't agree with it. I felt like it couldn't really wrap itself up because of the court case because it becomes a huge deal in season 2. But what's unfortunate is the court case doesn't go the way of the Bakers, which in reality might happen. It's also kind of sad that the school is sort of neglected. At least the principal has neglected what the trial is trying to change. He gets like a folder from Mr. Porter of all the, delinquents that could be at risk, like Hannah was. And he just puts it back down on Mr. Porter's desk because Porter is leaving the school because of basically he, in their term, basically allowed a girl to kill herself. Also, other stuff that I don't need to explain. I don't need to ruin everything of season 2. And it's just like, so what did the school accomplish? They didn't accomplish anything. And I'm not saying the school wouldn't do this. I'm just a bit surprised. But then if you watch American Crime, it kind of shows the same thing. But then we need to get this whole Columbine thing. Honestly, season 2, which is the one I was describing of American Crime, is actually the best season because it all wraps up. It shows everybody's connected, blah, 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 blah. This is not about American Crime. Anyway, the point is, it's a very different situation. And so basically you want to ask yourself when you're watching 13 Reasons Why, at least for the first season, is why? Why are you watching this show? If you've read the book, it's quite obvious you want to see if the book accomplishes what the show does. I mean, you want to see what if the show accomplishes what the book did. In the first season, I would argue they do. I don't remember the court case in the book. It's possible it's in it. I don't feel it is. It wasn't really the main objective of the book, but it is in the show, and it makes perfect sense. And really, in my opinion, the viewers are watching season 2 because they want to learn about the court case. Is it going to be resolved? Will the Bakers win? As they probably should. Is the school at fault? In the end, they disagree. The jury, which is how all court cases basically get concluded, unless the jury is so backwards that the judge changes the verdict. Anyway, the jury believes that the school is not at fault. Now, in reality, that is possible. I mean, but the school was very neglectful, and you can see it throughout season 2 and basically season 1. But season 2, there are a few problems with season 2. The first problem is the format. So the first season is all about the tapes. The second season should be all about Polaroids, because that's their new clincher. But it isn't. There are barely any Polaroids in the entire season. I mean, not every episode is labeled first Polaroid, second Polaroid, third Polaroid, like the tapes, which I think is a glaring error because you just killed the format of your show, which I thought was clever. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that are completely against 13 Reasons Why. They think it's not helpful. It's just glorifying suicide. I'm not completely on board there, especially since they do warn you of the graphic episodes. But by the end of the season, I can sort of understand why people might have been nervous about this show and why they might not want it to be viewed by anyone, especially young people or young adults. And by season 2, I have to agree. I mean, the Polaroids are not a big thing. Basically, the show wraps its court case up. The Polaroids become a thing, but they don't become like the main thing because they don't happen each episode, which is what should happen. We find out who was giving the Polaroids. Somebody else was doing other threats. And then by the end of the season, Tyler, I forget his last name. I don't think it's Durden. Anyway, Tyler, who was the stalker in the first season, gets raped by a broomstick handle. And then just goes all Columbine. And I'm sorry, but I don't know how much abuse this kid has taken, but this is so unrealistic. What Clay does, I would not have done, by the way. He just basically stands up to him. He's going to shoot the entire prom, or dance, I guess it's just a high school dance, and Clay stops him, and then Tony gets him in his car, and they drive away, and basically they're going to have a whole heart-to-heart talk that Clay had with Tony. And what I liked about that episode in the first season was Clay's like on this precipice, on this hill, and he's like, why didn't I just do it? And then Tony basically convinces him not to kill himself. But it's like, wow, that was intense, and that kind of upped the ante that the book didn't really do. But in the second season, like, that's the same thing. But Tyler, I don't feel Tyler has any grounds as a character to just suddenly go all Columbine. I'm sorry. It doesn't fit. Also, the show should have been doing Polaroids. If they wanted Tyler to come to do something because of his abuse, he shouldn't go to the school. I mean, I wasn't in the Columbine shooting. I wasn't the kid. I don't know if Tyler is gay. In Columbine, the kid was, from what I understand. But, like, that's not important. What's important is the show has lost its touch. It did it well in season 1. It's a very, very hard issue to put on TV, and I understand the warnings. But then season 2 it just goes off the rails. I'm sorry. I don't know what kind of treatment Tyler was. I mean, it's like 3 guys that abuse him. So, like, if he wants to kill people, he doesn't just kill the entire school. He goes after those 3 people. And the fact that Clay stands up to him, I think, is very brave and is kind of realistic. But I would have tackled that motherfucker. I would not have let him, like, get anywhere near me with the machine gun at my neck. I would have tackled him and faced the consequences of that action. But that's what I would have done. Like, I would try to talk him down, and then once I had the machine gun in my grasp, I would have tackled him. The opportunity of him shooting me could have still happened because of, like, a reflex or a shock, but I would have tackled him. I wouldn't have let him point the gun and keep me backing up towards the stairs, and then finally he gets the machine gun in his hand. You hear the police in the background, and then the show ends, and you're just like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm sorry. I mean, he tries to go at Columbine. He fails. He probably would have killed himself if we're still going with that story. But it's just the show has gone off the rails. I mean, okay, what is your objective? I mean, the first objective is Hannah. The second objective, the first season's objective is Hannah. The second season's objective is kind of Hannah too. And then by the end of it, it's Tyler. It doesn't work. The season has killed itself. Season 2 killed itself. Why would I watch season 3? What are we going to do next? CDs? You didn't even follow the format of the first season. What makes me think you're going to follow the third season's form? The format of season 1. I mean, if you're writing the show properly, you do season 1 tapes, which is in the book. You don't really need to have a season 2, but the way you end season 1, people get curious, at least me, and I want to know what happens in the court case. Then you get season 2, and it's not about Polaroids. It's some Polaroids, but that's not the main objective. So if you're going to do season 3, you could just screw around with that too. You know, you could do CDs, but they're not all CDs. It's just, it's a mess. And honestly, I think I've ranted for this too long, and that's all I have to say about this. It's a mess. 13 Reasons Why. First season is great. Season 2, the court case, to me is believable, but the things behind or in front of the court case they don't work. I'm sorry, but they don't. Yeah, bye.